Hello and welcome to ShePack. I'm your host, Lanice Wolf, and today I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Leslie Sullivan. She is a regional sales manager at Ross Video, and in today's conversation, we're going to start to discuss resilience in sales, a single mother's journey. Leslie, we're finally here, my friend. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Me too. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Now, I do have to say, for those that do not have children, I think being a mother is probably one of the hardest jobs I know that I've ever done. And I just want to commend you and really hats off, because I think single moms, I remember having each one of my kids thinking like, this is so impossible. And then remember seeing some of my friends and I'm like, how do you do it? So hats off to you, my friend. I do have to say that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's one of those things I think people go, how did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. You figure it out. You figure it out.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And good words of wisdom, because I think the more you think about it, you can also get into this like victim syndrome. So you just figure it out and you keep it moving. But let's start off with the fun one, if we can. So if you could go back in time and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be, knowing everything that you've learned on your journey so far?
That was like one of the hardest things to kind of think about, right? There's so much, you gain so much wisdom as you grow older. So I think for myself, if I went back today and talked to my 18-year-old self, I would just say, make sure you learn to love yourself as you are right in this moment. And your past is not going to determine your future. You know, you're smart, you're resourceful, and you will make it. You'll be successful. It may not look like it now, and you may be confused and not know where this world's going to take you, but you'll make it. You'll be okay.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that, Leslie, because I think when we're in those moments of being transformed, if you will, you kind of get so focused and kind of myopic on where you are in your journey, not even realizing that you're just being transformed into a diamond and you're just getting started. So I think that's so beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I tell my kids that now too. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out. You think you do, but you don't.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you need that reminder. I feel like you kind of come in and you think, oh, you even comparing yourself to other people or seeing other people's success, but you just have no idea what it took, and even their early beginnings. And I think that's a great segue because, you know, offline, you and I were talking about growing up with blue collar parents. Now, my dad was a mailman. And so, you know, with that, we have all kinds of like fun Christmas mailman things. But it's in very many ways, it can shape a very unique perspective on life and work. What were some specific moments or lessons from your parents that had a significant impact on your work ethic and determination?
Yeah, I think I definitely got my work ethic from my parents. My parents were young parents. My mom was 19. My dad was 21. And they came from a long line of blue collar workers and their families. So it was kind of all they knew. And being young parents, they had to figure it out pretty quick how to do this thing called life. And they worked hard endlessly. My dad just retired last year after 52 years of doing the same thing his entire career. He's a water well driller. And my mom just retired a few weeks ago herself. And she was a bus driver for 22 years and then kind of bounced around doing different jobs. But they made it work. And our life was not lavish by any means, but they never let me or my siblings realize that, maybe we didn't have as much as others, or they were struggling financially at any point in our lives. They made it work, and seeing them work hard. And it's like, you put your nose to the grindstone and you figure it out and you work hard and you'll be successful.
Yeah, no, I love that. There's so many things I feel like that you see in just the determination and working hard that kind of, in a lot of ways, start with your parents. And I mean, as you start to think back on your early beginnings and your journey, if you could give us just a highlight, what was your path, especially like right out of high school?
Right out of high school, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. I went to a very large high school where unfortunately it just kind of became a number. You know, you got shuffled into the guidance counselor's office one day and was like, well, what do you want to do when you graduate? And it's like, I don't know. And they were like, well, apply to these 3 schools. But, you know, no one in my family had gone to college. So my parents were just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to help you. And I was struggling to kind of find my way. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to go to school and not necessarily waste money, but go to school and rack up all these bills because I didn't know how I was going to pay for school. So until I figure out what I'm going to do. So I just, you know, I had a little part-time job in high school that I made a full-time job. And my best friend, actually, her mom kind of took me under her wing and was like, well, why don't you come work for me and be my assistant? And I was like, okay. And so I was working 2 jobs. And then she was like, you need to quit that other job and just come and work for me full time. I said, okay. And that's how I kind of got started in the business world. And I just started picking up things. Well, now you're going to be in charge of this. And now you're going to do this. And I was like, okay. And I just learned and learned and learned. And I said, okay, this is what I'm doing, I guess. And got into sales for the very first time as like a sales assistant and just worked really, really hard and worked my way up the ladder a little bit at a time. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome. And you had mentioned too that, you know, right out of high school, it's so overwhelming. And I think that it's interesting. I was in the same boat as you. My parents didn't graduate from college, and you know, it's kind of hard to navigate what are those next steps. And it's interesting. It's when you're so young for people to say, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's, you know, it's one of those things. Even now I'm almost 40 and I still don't know what I want to be. So it's, you know, I think it's a lot of pressure, but kudos to you for jumping in and having somebody to take you under your wing. Now, college wasn't, you know, an immediate thing out of high school for you, but you did decide to return to college. In fact, you returned to college at the age of 40. So what made you decide and what inspired that decision?
You know, it was something that in the back of my head, I always kind of wanted to do. And even though I was working and developing skills and learning so much and moving my way throughout, you know, through different career paths in the companies I worked with, I know that I kind of held myself back. So I would look at like job postings and I'd say, you know, it's college degree required. And I'm like, oh, they're not going to even talk to me. And a lot of people would be like, just apply, you know? And I'd be like, no, it kind of held me back. But I was like, how can I go to school when I have a full-time job and I have bills to pay and I have 3 kids? And like, how am I going to do all of this? And my sister actually had started at Southern New Hampshire University doing their online program. And I was like, oh, wow. And I kind of like looked at what she was doing, looked into the program, and I was like, okay, I could do this. Like, I don't have to try to figure out how to squeeze in 2 hours in the evening to go on campus and sit there for a lecture. Like, because I was like, there was no way I was going to be able to do it. So I was like, you know what? It's, you know, something changes, I think, in people when you turn 40. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. I think I might be crazy, but I'm going for it. And I applied and yep, I powered through at 40 for 4 years.
40, and you said you had 3 kids. How old were your kids at that point?
Oh, gosh. They were, gosh, you're going to make me math here. My daughter was, let's see, 9, 10. So she was 10. So my oldest would have been probably around 12. She was 10. And then my youngest was probably 8. I was working full time. I was, you know, had those 3 plus, I had 2 stepdaughters, that, you know, I interacted with on a very regular basis. I was running 2 basketball programs at the time as well.
Oh my gosh.
Taking my laptop, you know, on the weekend to tournaments and like be sitting in a hotel room, like typing papers at night. And then it's like, put all the kids to bed, you know, do some schoolwork and go to bed and wake up and go to basketball. Yeah, it was just, again, one of those moments where they're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I'm like, I have no idea. No idea.
I
to
mean,
figure it
did you feel like you had to be the ultimate planner? I think back, and the reason why I asked this question because I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out. But my mom actually, she started school and she was commuting, went to San Francisco, which from where I live, it's about 45 minutes with no traffic.
out.
Had 3 young kids, and she was telling. I asked her, I'm like, how did you do it? She's like, I planned everything, and I'm like, okay, tell me more. Did you feel like, being a ultimate planner and having everything kind of scheduled out, was that kind of how you overcame some of those, I don't want to call them obstacles, but life that was coming in? How did you navigate that? I know you said it kind of just flew by you.
Yeah, I mean, determination and time management skills have to be top tier, right? Like you just lists upon lists upon lists. I had calendars and planners and reminders and just, to-do lists. And I would, bake out my schedule for the week. I know this is due on this day. And, I really I completely and totally organized to a T. Like there's just within an inch of my life, right? Like you had to. You had to. And there were a lot of nights that, that schedule kind of got upended and it was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm still typing and got to get this in, I'm like, I was determined that if I was going to do it, I was going to do it well. And to the best of my ability. So I always wanted to make sure I put forth like the best work I could, but also like, try to be as present on as little sleep as you usually can probably get at that time. But, be present with your kids and be wide-eyed and bushy-tailed for work. And it's a juggle for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's that it makes me think of that analogy where you're calm and cool on the outside, and then underneath the water, your like legs are flailing because you have young kids who are watching you, and they don't understand all these things that you're trying to conquer. Later in life, I know at least I did. You definitely appreciate your mom, but
Yes.
I think what I'm hearing from you is, it's a lot of planning, organizing, and sitting down early in your day to plot everything out, and then having the flexibility because you might be up at 1 o'clock, 12:30 a.m.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the whole thing, I really wanted to be a good lesson to my kids as well, to show them that you can do it at whatever age and you can go back and it's never too late to start over, and to show them that it could be done, and to also show them go to college when you're young because it'll be a lot easier than when you're at 40 and have kids and a job and everything else. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's actually a good it's a good point. And just for those who maybe it wasn't their path right after school to jump in and go to college, what advice or lessons can you offer them? You kind of talked a little bit to that, but what would you share with them based off of your experience?
I mean, I think there is a huge benefit to going to college right after high school. Obviously it's done for the most part on a regular basis that way for a reason, right? You're still young and you're pliable and flexible and able to, work on little sleep and, and be like that. But on the other hand, again, you don't have to have it all figured out. And it's okay if you decide, I need a little break from school and I'm just going to go work somewhere or, find something that I love. And that's the great thing, to do. And it's okay. All of it's okay. Because you can start over at 25, you can start over at 35, you can start at 45, you can start at 65 if you want to. So it's okay. It's never too late to start over.
Yeah, it seems like 40 is a magical number. I was just reading something the other day about Vera Wang not realizing that she started her career at 40 years old.
Oh, no way.
So something magical about that number. I did notice as well that you've been part of the girls club, and I think for about a year now. Is that right?
Yes, I was in their last cohort last year, or this year, or no, last year. Gosh, I don't even know what day it is anymore. Yes, last year. It went by so fast. So yeah, they're doing their Generation 6 right now. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, so for those that are not aware of the Girls Club, can you share more about the program and how you discovered them?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it was at my previous employer, my old job, where I was the only woman on my sales team. And my manager at the time had gone to a conference or a trade show. He was somewhere traveling, and he met somebody that was a part of Girls Club, and just got some more information and brought it back to me. He was like, hey, do with it what you want, check it out. Here's the information. Looking further more into it. But if you want to do this, I will fully support you. And so it's basically a 6-month program. It's a certificate program for women in sales, or to empower, teach, help, inspire women to garner, larger roles in sales management. There's always, it's funny when you hear women say, I work in a male dominated industry. Unfortunately, most of the industries are so male dominated these days, right?
So true.
So it's great to be able to have women go for that role that maybe they wouldn't have considered, whether they didn't have the confidence, which I know is a big, huge thing for me. And just kind of give them some skills, some training. You get partnered with a mentor. It's a really fantastic collaborative teaching. It's an amazing program. So it was 2022 when my manager had met this woman, and I applied, I think, the end of 22 for last year's cohort, and was accepted. You have to have, you fill out an application and answer a bunch of questions, and you have to have an advocate. So most usually your manager or somebody at your current job. And so you get enrolled, and it's 6 months of, it's a couple times, but it's all online. Again, you have trainings you have to go through. They host live events with, learning activities, or they call them fireside chats, where you can just kind of come. They have guest speakers. It's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah. So in terms of I want to double click on that too, because there was a couple things that you had said earlier as well. In terms of your direct involvement, now this group has mentors, they have fireside chats, virtual kind of hangouts and things that you can learn. What was your direct involvement on that? Was it more so kind of, did you contribute in terms of being a participant and speaking, or was it more just kind of taking advantage of some of the assets and resources, and how did that help your self-confidence and all that?
Yeah, so I was, basically a student, if you will, of the program. So you could participate as much as you want. So there were, learning and training sessions each month that they would release. Again, it's all at your own pace. You can, as long as you keep up with it, you can graduate from the program. But it's all at your own pace. And the online stuff, you could participate as much or as little as you wanted to. I mean, you could be you could be online when they were live and not say a peep. You could raise your hand. You could ask questions if you wanted to. There was a lot of times that I wasn't able to join the live ones, so they recorded everything, so I could always go back and see everything. So you'd never miss any piece of content, which is fantastic. So I actually wish I had a really crazy 2023. It was just kind of insane. And I wish almost that I had waited a little bit longer so I could even just been a bigger participant with the live trainings and stuff like that. But I never felt like I missed out on anything because everything was recorded and everything was there for me. And then I have a mentor that I still talk to today, which is Lori Dunn, who was previously on your podcast.
I love Lori.
Lori's amazing. I was so excited to be paired with her and meet her. And we talk once a month. We still talk once a month, and the program ended for me in September, October timeframe. But me and Lori are linked for life now. She's stuck with me.
Yeah, no, Lori Lori is amazing. So many great, valuable nuggets that we had in our discussion. And, she recommended you to me. And I think, I love to hear that one, being part of these programs, you get to be part of this community. And part of that is you start building these relationships with other people that continue to foster that empowerment and support system. Even some of the challenges you went through at that point, you were also a single mom navigating as a sales professional, parallel pathing, trying to balance everything in your life. So I feel like, what were some of the key takeaways, do you feel like, in being part of that program, aside from Lori, that helped you at that moment in your life and especially to your confidence?
Yeah, I think 23, as crazy as it was of a year, it was also very enlightening for me. I think with there were, personal things that had gone in, stuff with my work that has gone on last year, and with the combination of Girls Club and Lori. I've never been a manager of people before. I've always been a manager of products or a territory or something of that sort. But I have mentored a lot, and I've always loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Everything that had transpired for me last year, and being a part of Girls Club and having Lori as a mentor, really gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I can go for that role. And even though I've never done it before in my career, I know I'm more than capable of doing it. I had somebody who was actually a president of a former company I'd worked for, out of the blue, reached out to me last year about a director level position. And I was just like, wow, you're considering me? And you get that imposter syndrome kind of trying to sneak in there. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, he reached out to me for a reason, and from my past employer, there was a man I was mentoring when he came on board. And last week they had their sales meeting, and he got salesperson of the year. And he was like, I was one of the first people he called, and he was just like, you always downplay the role you played in my career here at this company. He's like, but you are a huge part of my success. And I'm like, I can take all those bits, and think back of all the things I have accomplished, and just be like, I'm ready. I have the confidence. I can take that next step to the next level, to that next role, if I choose to. Again, I don't have to, right? I love what I do right now, but I know I have the confidence at this point, after going through all those things, and especially Girls Club and Lori. Lori's awesome. Give me that little boost of confidence, saying you can do it. You're meant for it.
What I love about what you were saying is that confidence as well, just because I think, you had mentioned the director position and being a people manager. And, I think every person has some form of imposter syndrome that may come in. But what I heard from you is you had this confidence, and you had mentored others who had become successful and received awards and accolades. And it just confirmed what you bring to the table. But I think what's also very empowering is still saying that I have the decision of where I want to take my life, which, goes into my next question on just balancing everything. Because again, 3 kids at this point, you're a single mom and trying to balance you have this confidence and community behind you, and coach through Lori, that is really kind of empowering you to go out into the workforce. What is your secret sauce in all of this, and having that balance, and maintaining it?
It's hard, for sure. And you have to, give yourself grace in a lot of moments throughout life, right? You don't want to be so super hard on yourself, and, building your community around yourself, and building, that village to help you out. It takes time, but you have to, when you identify those people that have your back and are going to be there for you to support you, even if it's just a brief moment. And they just give you one little nugget of something you can hold on to, right? Like it's just, you got to take grasp of that and roll with it. It's hard, right? My kids are older now. I have two in college. I have one who's a senior in high school. So life is, I'm entering a different phase of my life. And it's kind of like, okay, I can kind of focus more on me a little bit and what I want to do in the next step in my career, but also like I'm still there every single moment for my kids, right? Like they know I'm the steadfast, I will be there for you to support you. It's just one of those things you kind of, sometimes it gets clumsy figuring it out. You're kind of stumbling through it, but you kind of piece it together and you make it work. But yeah, you gotta latch on to those good ones that come across you for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because two things that I got out of that. One is about the village, which I'm going to put a placeholder there, but it's also still being present. Even though your kids are older, you're at a different chapter in your life, you're still present for them. And I know for myself, I'm very close with my parents. But even my mom, I think it doesn't matter how old we are. If we get that privilege to still have our parents here, we're still present no matter how old your kids are. I'm very present in my mom's life. She can't get rid of me at this point. So I got her on speed dial. But I love how you said that it's even when you get into these chapters of your life, some of those staples are still there. Now, I think about, building a village and just the blessings of having strong female role models and how essential it can be. But sometimes it can be a challenge, I think, that as you start to, build your village. And curious, what has been your experiences in some of those challenges?
Yeah, I think, and especially trying to find female role models can sometimes be difficult because you do. Like I said, my previous employer, I was the only woman on my sales team, right? It was me and 12 guys. And they were all wonderful. I loved them all, but it was kind of like, okay, finding those, those little gems, like who can I find another woman in a management role that I can connect with? I've always tried to seek out those people. And there are some from so far long ago. I have a really, really great friend who started as a customer and then we were competitors and then I worked for her for a little bit and our careers have just taken this crazy path, but we've done it together. And she's not only just like a really, really great friend, but it's so great to be able to have somebody to talk like career path and what should I do in this situation? And this is what they're offering me. Am I crazy? So, I look at my mom and my grandmother and the work ethic and everything that they have, gone through and succeeded through, all the way to, my sisters or my very best friend. And, she's a manager at a retail store, but she is like a crazy, amazing leader. Like she just kills it. And even though it's just a peer or somebody the same age, and maybe not necessarily somebody older, I think everybody kind of thinks of, oh, I need a mentor. Well, they have to be older than me, right? They must have already done this for 20 years, but that's not necessarily the case, Lori's younger than me, much younger than me, and she's amazing, right? Like she's just so knowledgeable. So piecing together that village, and yes, women role models are fantastic and wonderful, but there are a lot of wonderful men who will be supportive of you. And again, you find those little nuggets and you're like, all right, I'm latching on to you. I'm keeping you close because, you're supportive. It's just finding those people that are really supportive, and it takes time, but you will, when you least expect it, you find somebody that's just like, wow, they'll kind of blow your socks off. And I'm like, I can learn from you.
Well, and what I took from that is being receptive. I think, there's this kind of what it sounds like a misconception of what this traditional role model may look like. And, I think it's finding those gems where whether you can learn something or you had spoke about your friend where you guys started friends, you guys were competing with each other, but there was lessons learned that you guys could both benefit from each other. And it is
Yes.
building your village and finding other areas of things that maybe somebody's an expert in one area. I think even diversifying your community. You had mentioned, I think everything is a male dominated community, but there are allies out there of people who
Yes.
want to help, who have, this skill set that, you would want to acquire. And there are men who are willing to help.
Absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. No, this has been amazing, Leslie. My last question that I have for you is, in a world full of possibilities, what mark do you dream of leaving as a trailblazer for future generations of empowered women?
That's such a tough one. It's an easy one, but a tough one, right? Just, I would say, like, do it and do it scared. Like, don't be afraid to fail. Because failure is not actually failing, it's learning, ask questions and be okay with not getting it right the first time. You got to figure it out. Don't self-reject. Love yourself for exactly where you are at this moment in time. And again, you don't have to have it all figured out. I'm still figuring it out, right? Like you said, it's like I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But it's okay to start over again and, work hard, persevere, be determined, ask lots of questions. If I can do it, anybody can do it for sure.
Yeah. What I love about that, Leslie, is it made me think of your life, your rules, be kind to yourself, and continue to explore and figure out what is your why.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. I appreciate you being on the podcast. I loved our conversation. And so as we wrap up in today's episode, let's remember that in supporting one another, we amplify our strengths and we break down barriers. So go out there, champion for your dreams, empower your peers, and continue to shape a future where every woman realizes her true potential. Until next time, see ya.